Awesome. We'll go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first Student Organization Zoom series of the semester. We're excited to chat a little bit today about Spring 2021 updates, but first we'll do some introductions. My name is Jackie Phillips, and I serve as the Senior Coordinator for Student Engagement here in the ELS, and I'm joined today by Taylor Kane. Taylor, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Jackie. Hey, everyone. My name is Taylor Kane, and I serve as the Director of Engagement, Leadership, and Service here at UGA. And we are so excited to finally see some students again. So thank y'all for joining us. Our hope for this, whether you're attending in person here or you're watching the recording later on, is that this serves as an opportunity to potentially get some of your questions answered as they pertain to potentially some COVID guidelines, but also just continuing to seek opportunity and find ways to work around those things and still be successful and provide engaging experiences for your peers and for your organizations. As always, we are super excited to help and look forward to the opportunity to engage with you to make your student organization as successful as possible. So thank you again for joining us, and look forward to chatting and answering questions as we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Taylor. And so just a quick overview of what we'll be chatting about today. We'll start off with some reminders regarding COVID-19. So some things you may recognize from the COVID-19 guidelines for student organizations, as well as a few additional new updates. We'll also share about Involvement Month, which begins tomorrow. And then we'll also share out some opportunities and events that are going to be occurring this semester, but specifically the beginning of the semester and this month in January. And then we'll open it up for questions. But if you have any questions, feel free to send them in the chat, or if you're watching this at home, feel free to email us at ugaels@uga.edu. So to start off with our COVID-19 reminders, we wanted to bring up some of the things related to safety, decision-making, and personal responsibility. So as a reminder, all faculty, staff, and students are required to self-monitor and acknowledge that they are not aware that they have any signs or symptoms of COVID-19 before coming to campus each day. So we recommend reminding your student organization members, leaders, and anyone attending events of this. And then, as a reminder, all faculty, staff, and students and visitors are required to wear facial coverings while inside campus facilities and buildings. And so we want to remind you all of this because it's really important also when it comes to events, whether they're indoors or outdoors, to remind folks of wearing masks, and also to remind them that face covering use is an addition to and not a substitute for social distancing. We encourage you to review your organization's attendance and participation policies. So ask what worked in the fall, what didn't work, and what changes might be worth considering or making. And so with that, reviewing expectations and ensuring that everyone is on the same page. So having a discussion about what are the expectations for members of your organization, and do any changes need to be made based on participation from the fall as you move forward with the spring semester. So ensuring that expectations are appropriate, and those might look a little different than years past or even from the fall semester, but making sure that you're reviewing them and sharing those out with members. It's also important to respect individual decisions regarding student-specific situations, recognizing this is a hard time for everyone, and so situations may change. And then also be mindful of the instructional breaks. So those 3 days that are given off throughout the semester. So really considering what events are being planned around those, potentially not hosting those during those breaks, and then also with deadlines. So if you are opening up applications or asking people to submit something by a certain date, just be mindful of those instructional breaks so that your members and other students can really utilize those in whatever way works best for them. So maybe not making anything due on an instructional break or immediately after, so that people are able to utilize those and really take a break.
Yeah, and I think just one additional thing too, Jackie, is you're certainly welcome to host things on those days. We anticipate that folks are this is a great time to potentially do something that might mitigate stress or have you just be able to build community with folks within your organization. We just encourage you to consider whether or not you make attendance mandatory on those days, given that folks may have different competing interests and obligations on days where they do not have class.
Yes, exactly. And then moving forward with campus reservations, these are some updates from our campus partners and campus reservations, and just some helpful reminders. So all meetings and classrooms on campus have lower capacity numbers. This looks very similar to the fall semester. And any meeting over 80 people should hold their event online. And so we recommend Zoom since all students and staff have free accounts through UGA. However, you are welcome to use other platforms, but it is just important to note as you're starting to think about what events you want to host this spring, that there aren't really any spaces for over 80 people. And then any event hosted in a large event space, so that could be Grand Hall, the Tate Theater, or outside on Legion Field. At most, they're only able to accommodate between 100 and 120 people, but that's also based on how you want to set it up. And so that may shift a little bit due to social distancing and based on what you're doing at your event to figure out what the best arrangement may be. But that CRETS is recommending that anything over 80 that you really consider how you can do that in an alternative format. And then most buildings on campus have limited operating hours. And so you can find some additional information about what times are available for reservations on the campus reservations website. That's reservations.uga.edu. And so definitely I recommend checking that out because it may look a little different from semesters previously. I mean, if you're looking to reserve space on the weekend or specific times, CRETS has all that information on their website too. But for this semester, the only buildings that will be available are the MLC on the first floor and then selected rooms on the second floor, the journalism building, and then some of these other buildings that are listed here. So Sanford, Caldwell, Park, North, and South PJ auditoriums. And then if you are looking to request another building, you can reach out to CRETS and there can definitely be a discussion and those will be accommodated on a case-by-case basis. Additionally, when thinking about campus reservations, you can feel free to start submitting those requests now. Reservation requests for classroom spaces are available. Those opened in December. So feel free to submit that on the CRETS website, but please note that those are starting to fill up and that there's limited availability due to classes and also just spacing. So if you do anticipate wanting to have in-person events, we highly recommend or regular meetings to submit those requests now, and then you can always work with CRETS to make changes later on. Students are discouraged from having common food and drink distribution sources at events. So once again, we're recommending individually portioned and prepackaged containers. Per UGA's COVID-19 policies, masks are required in all indoor locations, along with social distancing. So just make sure as you're planning events to review those and make sure that you are continuing to consider those along with all of the guidelines that we're providing here. And then indoor tabling reservations are being brought back. So you are able to table indoors at select locations this semester. And so if you're interested in making a reservation, you can do those through CRETS as well. But please note that large fairs will not be accommodated at tabling locations this semester. And so when thinking about your reservations and hosting events, consider tailoring experiences and services to accommodate social distancing practices. And so some strategies that we found to work really well throughout the fall semester and that we recommend are using larger venues and open air spaces that allow spatial flexibility, offering the same activities multiple times to enable smaller groups. So having different signups and offering different shifts when people can come. Supplementing or alternatively delivering experiences online, so offering some different virtual experiences, and then also configuring available space and furnishings in new ways. And so I'm thinking about how can spaces be set up, so using them and being innovative in order to be able to host that in person if that's something you're wanting to do. And then also consider detailed signage, queuing lines, and then once again, considering individually packaged foods or using catering rather than having food out and everyone taking and sharing. So also with events, limiting activities and shared items that require physical contact. So not passing around a pen, maybe not doing an activity where balls are being thrown from individual to individual. So really allowing each individual to have their own items that they're using just to avoid passing anything along. Additionally, we encourage self-cleanup following all events and meetings. And then for any events occurring off campus, you are asked to follow current guidance in place from state and local officials and health leaders. We encourage including contingency plans when advertising programs, events, and activities, and then also utilize the involvement network to promote and manage events. And so the involvement network has a few newer features. So you can actually track your participation and who attends on the involvement network, which can help with contact tracing if needed. But then also there's RSVP settings. So you can create those shifts within there to know how many people are planning to come to see how you can best accommodate them. And then there's also an option to send out an attendance URL. So once your event's created on the involvement network, you can share it out and even create QR codes using that link so that people can check in without having to actually sign in or scan IDs. And so that allows people to check in on their own devices and hands-free.
One thing, if I could, Jackie, while you're still on events, just as a reminder to folks, and you've gotten probably, if you were here last semester, you should have received multiple emails from Tim Chester, who's our vice president for EITS here on campus, that as you're using Zoom, to please pay special attention, close attention, and be mindful of those guidelines to help you secure those meetings, to help prevent and limit Zoom bombing and folks attending your events or meetings that are not welcomed. So please make sure that you're utilizing those opportunities, such as passwords, only sharing the link with members of your organization or those who've registered for your events, opting in to having waiting rooms, and et cetera. We really hope that this is a way to continue to limit that happening, but it really is going to take all of us working towards making sure that we're securing our meetings to try and make sure that we're kind of keeping that in check.
Yeah, I'm so glad you shared that, Taylor. And on that same note, you can also include an online meeting location on an event in the involvement network, and that allows you to input it and it will embed it so that someone has to be logged into the involvement network in order to click on the link and join your Zoom meeting or join your virtual activity. And that's one additional way that you can protect your meeting without sharing it out publicly. So telling people to check out your involvement network page, and they'll have to sign in with their UGA credentials. So that's one other recommendation that we have. When thinking about recruitment, all student and organization recruitment activities must adhere to the current social distancing guidance. We are not having a large-scale involvement fair once again this semester, just due to space and really keeping everyone's safety in mind. But instead, we're really excited to launch Involvement Month, which will begin tomorrow on January 13th. And this is a series of programming promoting involvement and showcasing different engagement opportunities and highlighting student organizations all throughout the month of January. And so in just a minute, we'll go over all of the different events that are going on. But we're really excited for this replacement and hope that it provides an experience for not only y'all as student organization leaders to promote your organizations, but then also to help students get connected here at UGA. So that's one other way to participate and get involved with Involvement Month in order to recruit new members and also to share out about your organization. Some other things to keep in mind as you're thinking about recruitment: we encourage you to keep your organization information up to date on the involvement network. So if your contact information has changed, or if there's additional information about meeting times that you want to share out, just go into the involvement network, and under managing organization, you can update your profile. And this is one of the quickest ways to make sure the most accurate information is being shared out and for students to find you. You can utilize forms for signups, whether that's on the involvement network or through Google Docs or whatever platform you want to use. But that's one electronic way to gauge interest and get students' contact information to then reach out to them about upcoming events. So we encourage you to think about interest forms, online applications, utilizing forms in order to collect information and then also to promote your organization once again. And then lastly, think about how to highlight members and membership experiences via social media, whether that's sharing photos from last semester, highlighting student members and what they love about your organization, but really showing the people so that students can see this is what our organization is about. And on that same note, with engagement and community building, we highly encourage you to create opportunities for social engagement within virtual organization meetings. So if you are meeting on Zoom, thinking about Zoom backgrounds, some fun different themes that you can do, implementing games throughout your meetings, and setting a time specifically for members to socialize and get to know one another. And then also sharing out resources with your members. So sharing out different opportunities that exist, whether it's resources or other opportunities for them to get involved on campus, but sharing out information to your members just to keep them up to date about what's going on UGA's community. Another way to continue building community is creating pairs or small groups of students based on similar interests. So this could be a mentorship program or just setting people up to get to know one another and go do something. So allowing them to find an activity or a time to meet on Zoom to really get to know one another, but thinking about some intentional ways to build community in smaller groups. You can also do smaller group discussions on Zoom through breakout rooms. And then also consider establishing a team to do some outreach within your organization, just to check in. And that can be as simple as sending out texts once a week of saying, hey, how is everyone doing? Or finding ways to just check in with members during your meetings. And then lastly, refer students experiencing hardships to student care and outreach. They're always more than willing to chat and to help connect students to different resources based on their needs. But we just wanted to remind you all of that. And then for fundraising, once again this semester, student fundraising activities that involve food, unless it's pre-packaged, will not be approved. So please take that into consideration when you're planning out your fundraising activities, and just make sure that any food that you're wanting to sell or provide during a fundraiser is pre-packaged and individually wrapped. So unfortunately, that means no home goods or homemade baked items can be sold. But there's tons of different options out there. Additionally, we encourage you to fundraise online rather than exchanging items or money in person. And then, as always, fundraising requests need to be submitted through the involvement network. And that form is on the front page.
So when it comes to kind of keeping in mind the financial interest and considerations for your organization, we recommended this last year or last semester and continue to do so, that when you're thinking about the events or initiatives that cost money, right? So your obligation to then pay for a service or a good to a vendor providing you that good or service, make sure that you're thinking about the financial risk to your organization. Should, unfortunately, we potentially have to go home again this semester, which fingers crossed, that will not be the case, that we are here all semester and still enjoying what the campus experience has to offer, but making sure that you've covered yourself with your vendor. So having those conversations before you agree to potentially a contract with a vendor or to some type of financial agreement or obligation, that you're saying, hey, just in case this can't happen because of COVID-19 or some other reason, what's your policy on cancellations, right? Ask those questions before you enter into an agreement, making sure that you've covered your organization. The last thing you want to happen is for, maybe a couple of members in your organization to potentially, unfortunately, contract the virus, and then you can't host the event, so you have to cancel, but the vendor that you're ordering your pizza from is like, well, you still got to pay for the pizza because you already ordered it. So really think about how to protect your organization financially, and we really encourage you to think about those questions beforehand and ask those vendors and businesses how they're handling situations when they arise, so that you make sure your organization's covered. In addition to that, many organizations on campus will order different promotional materials or marketing materials to promote their events and their organization, whether that's ordering t-shirts or stickers from the print and copy office here in Tate. Really consider whether you can distribute those materials safely. One of the small things that we've reminded organizations is that if you're tabling and you want to give things out to folks as like a takeaway or a flyer or a pamphlet or something, instead of physically handing it to someone, set it on the table so that folks can walk up and grab one themselves. And so you're limiting contact between individuals. So obviously this is something to consider in terms of how many of an item you need to order. So that way you're not over ordering and then you're stuck with a lot of stuff left over. Finally, it's important for folks, and we want to make sure we convey this really well, is that student organizations are still allowed to travel, whether that be for competitions or conferences that may still be occurring in person. You are still allowed to do so, but we strongly encourage you to consider guidance that's out there around how to safely travel to those locations. If you can, travel independently, or at least limit the number of people in a shared vehicle. Consider who may already be kind of in each other's bubble. So if two roommates are a part of your organization, obviously they already cohabitate. So it may be okay for them to ride in the same vehicle rather than incorporating other people into their ride. So really consider what that looks like for your organization, whether you all feel comfortable doing so. And then as always, consider the limitations that other members of your student organization may have and their comfort level in doing so. So really strongly encouraging maybe participation, but not necessarily expecting it. But again, travel's still allowed. We don't encourage it, but we do recognize that some groups, that's a core function of their operation. And so we just want to make sure folks are trying to do it as safely as possible to mitigate the risk of spreading COVID-19.
And then we know we've thrown a lot of different information out there, so we just wanted to provide some additional resources. So the Involvement Network can be found at involved.uga.edu. This is where students can search for different organizations and find out about upcoming events. So once again, we recommend you keep your organization profile up to date, but then you can also use the Involvement Network to really manage your organization. So creating forms, creating events, sharing documents. If you want to have everything in one place, the Involvement Network provides a great platform to do that. Additionally, we have the Student Involvement Listserv. And so if you haven't already opted in, you can opt in at the link listed on this slide. And then you can also submit announcement requests to be shared out on the listserv every Monday. And so if you want to share out about upcoming events or membership opportunities or just general information about your organization, we highly recommend you submit an announcement request, and we're always more than happy to promote your organization within the listserv. Additionally, we have all of the recordings from the student organization Zoom series. These are posted on our YouTube and can be found at this bit.ly, as well as on our website. And if you have any other topics or ideas that you'd really like us to cover, feel free to email those to ugaels@uga.edu. And then we also have our Presidential Summit. So if you're interested in networking with other student organization leaders and chief officers, Presidential Summits occur once a month and have a different topic. And on January 28th, we're going to be chatting about organizational culture and traditions. And so if you're interested in sharing out any traditions and learning more about how to discover your organization's strengths and weaknesses and how to really plan on improving your organization culture, or even just figuring out what your organization culture is, we hope you'll join us on the 28th, and that will occur over Zoom, and you can register at the bit.ly listed here. And as we mentioned earlier, we do have a new initiative, Involvement Month, starting tomorrow on January 13th. And so you can find more information on our website, which is els.uga.edu, as well as on our social media at UGA Engagement. But we're really excited to offer opportunities for community building, to promote involvement, and then also to spotlight student organizations on our social media. And so starting this Thursday, we have Involvement Bingo. And then we have 4 different mini involvement fairs on Tate Plaza. And I'll share in just a moment the sign-up link if your organization is interested in tabling. And it is free for student organizations to join us, and we'll be assigning organizations tables on a first-come, first-served basis through the sign-up form. And then the Involvement Ambassadors will be hosting a trivia night on the 20th. And on the 21st, we'll be having an involvement panel so students can share about how to get involved. And so if that's something you might be interested in serving on, feel free to reach out to us at ugaels@uga.edu. We'd love for you to share your perspective on involvement and what you've learned through your own experiences. And then on the 26th, we have a new initiative, Nuggets of Knowledge. This will be a monthly lunch and learn series with different topics. And on the 27th, we'll have involvement coaching. So if you're interested in meeting with someone one-on-one to learn more about different opportunities, or if you're wanting to chat about your organization, you can sign up for a time at the bit.ly and meet with an ELS staff member during that. And then we also have some different student organization opportunities listed here, as well as some other engagement opportunities. So definitely go to our website, check out all of these, and then learn more about each of the events. But we'll hope you'll join us on Thursday for Involvement Bingo, and then at the other events throughout the month. So specifically during involvement month, some of the opportunities for student organizations will be spotlighting student organizations on ELS's social media all throughout the month. So if you'd like to submit an Instagram graphic to be spotlighted, please make sure to submit that through the form on the Involvement Network by this Thursday, January 14th. And then if you're interested in tabling at one of the 4 mini involvement fairs, make sure to sign up on the Involvement Network also by this Thursday, the 14th. And so mini involvement fairs, those will be held from 10:30 to 1 in Tate Plaza. And so your organization will have a table and can chat with students and share out about your organization during that time.
Jackie, while you're still on this, we got a couple of questions about the mini involvement fairs. Emma asked, they've already signed up for to participate. When will they receive notification of what date or dates they'll be assigned to?
Yeah, that's a great question. You'll hear from us by this Friday. We're waiting for the form to close, and then we'll be sending out assignments for which dates. And so each organization will be assigned only one date at first, but then if space still is available, we'll then go ahead and assign other fairs and other tabling opportunities. But thanks so much for signing up for them, and you'll hear back from us by Friday at the latest with your assigned dates.
And then one last question, which I think I can answer, but we'll give it a shot. One person asked, are there specific themes like we've done in the past for each of the mini involvement fairs that their organization would like to advertise and participate in one? This year we're making it just general focus, anyone. We're not going to theme them. That way you've got the best opportunity to reach the masses and as many people will attend as possible. So there's no themes this year. We may incorporate those later in the semester, but for the 4 that we have for involvement month, they're just general involvement, so anyone is welcome to participate. So make sure you sign up and we'll let you know by Friday your status.
And as I mentioned before, we have a new initiative called Nuggets of Knowledge that will be starting this month. And so once a month, we'll be bringing people together both virtually on Zoom and in person in the Tate Reception Hall for a lunch, an opportunity to mingle and chat about a leadership topic. And for January, we'll be talking about transferring your leadership and involvement experience to the internship or job search. And so if you're interested in chatting with our campus partners from the Career Center and learning more about that, I hope you'll join us on January 26th. And you can register for not only this month's session, but also the other 3 that are occurring throughout the semester at bit.ly/ELS Nuggets. And all of that information can also be found on our website and our social media.
You can't beat leadership and chicken nuggets, you know?
Mm-hmm. Free lunch and an opportunity to meet others and to learn something new. Additionally, we wanted to remind everyone that applications for SOAR Awards are currently open. And so SOAR stands for Student Organization Achievement and Recognition Awards. This is our annual recognition process to recognize incredible student, advisor, and organization accomplishments. And so there are 15 campus-wide award categories that you can apply for and nominate whether it's your advisor or nominate an awesome member of your organization or recognize the great work that your organization is doing or has done this semester and this year since last January. And so the deadline to apply is at the end of this month on January 31st. So definitely go take a look at the application, consider applying. We know you've been doing awesome work, and so we can't wait to see that through your applications and then to celebrate the great work that you've done in April at the SOAR Awards ceremony and all across social media. And we'll be doing a Zoom series later this month going over SOAR Awards with some tips and tricks for that application and to answer any questions you have. So stay tuned for that information and the sign up link for that. And then one other reminder we had is that student organization registration will be reopening on Monday, January 25th. Nothing to worry about right now. We'll be providing tons of different resources and information, but we just wanted to put this on your radar to look out for communication about registration for the next academic year. And that will include required training videos and then the registration form on the Involvement Network. And there will be 5 different training videos on different campus resources and different topics to help you and help your organization succeed. And then are there any questions about any of the COVID guidelines, any of the reminders, or any of the new opportunities?
Yeah, we have one other question about, can you repeat that information about the upcoming SOAR Awards kind of tips and tricks Zoom series?
Yeah, so we have not set the date yet, but plan to within the next few days. And so we'll be sending that out through the involvement listserv as well as on social media. But we anticipate that will either be next week or the beginning of the following week.
Good deal. And the last question that we've gotten so far is about the website for room reservation information. Samantha, I will put that in the chat so that you can link to it directly. That's not found through the Involvement Network. That is a separate website through Campus Reservations, Events, and Technical Services, or CRITS, as we like to call them here at Georgia. And I will put the link in the chat for everybody to reference.
And if anyone has any specific questions about campus reservations, you can always reach out to them as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, Taylor, but I believe their email is reserve@uga.edu.
It is. Their website's reservations.uga.edu, and their email address is reserve, a little more action oriented. It's reserve@uga.edu. And they're pretty good at turnaround right now, so feel free to reach out to them. They're also located on the first floor of the Tate Student Center should you need to visit in person.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any additional questions? All right. Well, thank y'all. As always, if you have any, you think of some later on, you can contact us in so many ways. You can come visit us on the first floor of Tate. You can email us, ugaels@uga.edu, as you see on your screen. You can call us, you can DM us, you can tweet us, you can do whatever. And our social media, I would be remiss if I did not mention this, but our social media username is just @UGA-engagement. So thank y'all so much for joining us. Good luck this semester, and please keep us updated on how we can help support you and keep you active and successful. So good luck. We'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you.